Hello viewers, this is OBN Horn of Africa, our special edition. Today I am joined by His Excellency Dr. Barkahd Mohammed Kaariyee, Charge d'Affaires of Somaliland Embassy to Ethiopia. We will discuss on the current situation between the two countries. Till the end of our audition, stay with us. Doctor, very well welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And I really appreciate your time and the energy to come to here and also understand and tell the world what Somaliland reality on the ground is.
Please, would you tell us a little bit the historical background of Somaliland, please?
The Republic of Somaliland is the oldest republic and nation in East Africa, except Ethiopia. Because we gained independence from British government 26 June 1960. Before any other country in the region, obtained their independence, including Somali inhabited countries, including Somalia, Djibouti, Kenya, and even Somalis at that time in Kenya. So Somaliland is that country, and also Somaliland is the parent country of all Somali-speaking countries in the region, which means that the firstborn country in the region, which is sometimes you might have some confusions and historical, misinformation about Somalia is the parent country or mother country or the bigger Somali. No, that's not correct. To give this clarification, Somaliland is the parent country of all Somali-speaking countries in the region, because the firstborn country or the first, recognized and got independence from the British government. The other differences I want to underline is that Somaliland was British protectorate, it was not colony, while the other countries in the region except Ethiopia is, exceptional and colonized. But comparing to the rest of the region, they were under colonies. But Somalia was British protectorate, which means that they have arranged agreements with the British government, in the time 1884 up to 1897. And then they have had some deal that Somaliland should be protectorate, not colony. The other thing I want to also to tell the people, the viewers, listeners, is that, and everyone who is not familiar with Somaliland issue, is that Somaliland lost its sovereignty after after formed unratified illegal unification with Somalia to form the Somali Republic. But we never lost our independence. In legal terms, independence is different from sovereignty. So what we have lost 60 years plus ago is our sovereignty, not independence. That means the current and incumbent, Somaliland, that you heard a lot, is the continuation of our, previous Somaliland, which gained independence in 1960, which means that we are not de facto state, we are de jure state. You know that. So to also give this information to you is in 1960, when we formed the failed Somali Republic with Somalia Italiano, the Somalia Italian colony. 1 year later, Somalilanders realized their mistake, and then they wanted to withdraw from that illegal unification and union, and then that's where they exposed and subjected to extrajudicial killings, genocide, and bombardment by the Somalia government. In that case, Somaliland struggled a lot with, by the scholars, by everyone, by the people, and formed SNM, Somali National Movement, in 1982 in London, and also the armed wing of SNM, which the war against the tyrant and dictatorship of Mohammed Barre in Mogadishu, and then they overthrown. And 1991, the restoration of Somaliland sovereignty happened 18 May in Bur'o. That's the continuation of our independence, of our sovereignty, and that's why we are the jure state, not de facto state. That's the brief background of Somaliland country.
I've heard about your personal experience that forced you to flee to Hargeisa and seek refuge in Ethiopia 36 years ago. What was your experience? Would you share us, please?
That piece of article is my personal journey, which reflects the lives and the struggle and the heavy and huge price that my people paid to continue their statehood and nationhood as a Somaliland, Republic of Somaliland. It's a very tiny portion of what happened back 1980s to 90s, which means that Somalilanders were under repression and, up to genocide, for almost 30 years. So to reflect what I have gone through was, to show the people that my people suffered and struggled a lot, including myself and my family. That article, I was trying to shed the light on what every Somaliland, paid to be a Somalilander. They were killed because of being a Somalilander. They were subjected and exposed to, rape, bombardment, and all that problems by the Somali government is just because being a Somalilander. So being a Somalilander cost us a lot. I fled my family, with my family when I was 3 years old. The Ethiopian government at that time and our people in, Somali region of Ethiopia warmly welcomed us. You understand, being a refugee is not easy. And also to look for survival destination is not also easy. But luckily we are proud that we survived, unlike the other Somalilanders who had been killed by that bombardment and, tyrant, government. And almost 260,000 Somalilanders were killed and lost their lives. So that's how it cost to be Somaliland, how it cost us to be the Republic of Somaliland of today, yesterday, and 1960. I'm so happy to say that at a young age of 3 years old, as a refugee kid in refugee camp in Ethiopia, and now serving as Somaliland Church Affairs, acting ambassador to Ethiopia, is really something that tells you where we're from and now where we are heading to. So that's our status, and that's what Somalilanders asked us. To tell the world that we are assigned as government of Somaliland, leading by my president, His Excellency Musa Bihi Abdi, to tell the reality on the ground to the world. And so part of that.
East Africa is the most volatile region, but Somaliland is peaceful. What's the reason behind?
The reason is because of the people. My people are enough mature to, keep the nation safe. Not only that, they contribute to the regional stability and peace by, preventing any terrorism attacks and infiltration and whatever is going on in neighboring Somalia to go beyond our, borders and come to Ethiopia or Djibouti or the other regional, countries. So because of the willingness of my people, and not only that, my people said no to any imposed governance structure, peace-building mechanisms, and all that approach. They adopted their own indigenous, approach of peace-building and nationhood, building. When they restored their, lost sovereignty in 1991, they, started to adopt their own way of life, political structure, and all that. So Somaliland is peaceful because of their people, because of their leaders, because of their, politicians, and because of our, leaders in the government. And also, I have to mention the, the role of traditional leaders in our system. They are the ones who contributed a lot to our, statehood. Because of Somaliland have had enough problems and experienced enough, challenges, back 30 years. So now they said no. And for the past 30 years, from 1991 till now, they were democratic, have, what do we call it? Exactly. Almost 8 elections and free and fair elections. So Somaliland is stable, not only stable, but also contributing to the stability and the peace in the region because of our people. And we are proud of that.
What is the cooperation level of Somaliland, Ethiopia since its independence?
Somaliland, mission and embassy that we are here today in, that was established in 1996, like 5 years after Somaliland restored its sovereignty. And from that till day, we have been, improving and strengthening that relationship gradually by contributions from our people and also the side of Ethiopia. And we were doing that and still doing that because we know that we are strategic partners. The Republic of Somaliland, the Federal Republic of Ethiopia are strategic partners, development partners, and also we share more than, as I said several times, we share more than borders. We share people-to-people relations. We also share trade, security, and other relations. So, but today, I think it's, in the big end, it's, the time that this MOU will lead us to what Somalilanders have been demanding for a long time, leading by the Ethiopian governments. And my people, my government, and everyone in Somaliland, and the friends of Somaliland and Ethiopia are very grateful for that. And we are expecting to see, that near future.
Well, His Excellency President Musa Bihi Abdi paid his first visit as the President of the Republic of Somaliland to Ethiopia 5 years ago. Could this incident tell how significant the relation is?
Sure, yes. I was so lucky to witness that historical trip as well, serving here in the embassy. And it's not only telling that the significance of the relationship, but it's also telling that the government of Ethiopia and the government of the Republic of Somaliland has been working together for a long time to achieve the demands of their own respective people. So my people were demanding to get the full recognition, to also be rewarded by the international community what they have achieved for the past 3 decades. And likewise, the other part of, the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, people also demanding accessibility to sea, to get access to the sea. And that's what we have got in our country. And Ethiopia also have got the friends and, the country to be the first country to recognize Somaliland. So yes, and this is not, the final destination. We have a lot of things to do together as two countries. We are ready to grow together, to develop together, and also to share more than that.
That's great. What's your embassy doing to further cement this relationship?
Somaliland, being a diplomat in Somaliland for the past 30 years was very difficult. Not difficult because of challenge, but because of, to achieve what your people have been demanding is really something very huge task. Not only that, to tell the world that my people need the reward because we have done our part. They have secured their country and also contributed to the regional and wider, continent. They have built their own country with very little, external help, whether it's technical or financial help. They have done their part because of their failed democratization process with their own, revenue and locally collected, money. And they have also, not only that, they have also built a very unique stability and peace, system in our country. So that's their part. While the other, countries, in neighboring countries, for example, Somalia, the world has been injecting billions of dollars for 30 years out of nothing, which we believe that as Somalilanders, it's injustice. Because logically, whenever you have done something from your end, you expect the rest of the world to recognize that, to reward that. That's what we are demanding, and that's what they have been demanding for a long time. You know that? Luckily, we build all this from the scratch, in infrastructure-wise, in country-wise, even our state. But we are so happy to say that this is the continuation of our nation that we established in 1960, 26 June, recognized by 34 countries, including the the leading, countries in the world now. So we need that to be continued. And so to also achieve that reward, the Embassy of Somaliland in Ethiopia and the rest of embassies and missions offices, we were, working hard to achieve that goal under the leadership of our governments, of our leaders, of our ministers, and now the incumbent president, His Excellency Musa Bihabdi.
I appreciate. How closely are Ethiopia and Somaliland working against the expanding of the Al-Shabaab or Al-Qaeda militant groups?
Like other countries in the world, Ethiopia and Somaliland share, common enemies. Poverty is one of it. And the development is another factor. But the most important one is just to prevent the extremism ideologies and also the violent extremists to do anything against Somaliland, Ethiopia, and regional stability. That's what Somalilanders have been doing for that 30 years. And, historically telling you that in 2008, 29th October was the first and the last time that Al-Shabaab and other extremists attacked Somaliland, targeting Presidential Palace, the Ethiopian mission and embassy in Hargeisa, and the UNDP office in Hargeisa. That was the first and the last time, and we learned a lot from that. So having that experience, working together as the people of the Republic of Somaliland with the government of Somaliland and the other partners, international partners, including Ethiopia, we successfully prevented any further, explosions or all that. That's what I'm talking about, the ideological, extremism. And also the action, violent extremism. That's where Ethiopia and Somaliland have been cooperating together to prevent that, actions to happen in both countries and beyond. So it's common enemy, not only for Ethiopia and Somaliland, but it's common enemy for everyone in the world and the humanity as well. So that's why our people in Somaliland cannot absorb such kind of, radical ideologies, and that's why that's why they prevent all these actions by working with their own government, by collaborating each other, and also taking that, beyond the borders and collaborate with the the partners and friends of Somaliland.
Ethiopia and Somaliland have inked an agreement where Ethiopia will secure 20 square kilometer stretching of Somaliland's coastal water for port development and military bases. How significant is this agreement for the two sides?
It's very significant, not only for Ethiopia and Somaliland and the wider region, but also it's very significant. This MOU is very important for the international peace and security for several reasons. Now, you know what's happening in the Gulf of Aden. You know what's happening in the Red Sea. You know what's happening everywhere in the seas. Before even the current, situation in this, maritime routes, before that, Somalia has been, contributing to the piracy in the sea. And that's, why Somaliland Coastal Guards and Somaliland government has been trying to prevent, and they already prevented that acts to happen in Somaliland Sea and waters. So, and now you know what's happening. So having this MOU implemented, and supported by the international community will also help them to secure, that road, which is very important for the international trade and also, connectivity. That's why it's very important for them, and we need the international community to understand that. Not only that, in addition to that, also it's our rights. As Somaliland and as Ethiopians, it's our right to have such kind of, MOU. And it's not the first time. It's not the first time that internationally to have such kind of agreement. Go back to history. You can read Panama, United States of America agreement. So it's not something new. It's something that already happened and it has legal foundations. So we have to implement this, for the sake of Somaliland and Ethiopian rights, Somaliland has the right to also receive, achieve and also get their full recognition from international world, which is reward for them because what they have done for the past 30 years. And Ethiopians also have the right to have that access. And this is lease agreement, which is common in everywhere. You know that, and it's naval based. So all that aspects, from that angles, from that interests of everyone, is very good for the world to recognize and also support this MOU, in trade-wise, security-wise, connectivity-wise, and also the infrastructure development of both countries. So we are trying to grow together by giving or exchanging what they need each other. So that's very good for the world, not only for the region and the continent.
Do you think Ethiopia's port deal with Somaliland impacts other countries of the region?
You know what we want to understand, and everyone should understand this. How dare someone who has the common sense and logic thinking can think of that MOU will bring negative impact on the situation of the region, while we have our own problems here already by supporting and having Somalia in Mogadishu. Look at what's happening. Almost 34 countries from Africa, plus the other international partners, are in Mogadishu and the Somalia regions to help them to bring peace to the people. They are the base of Al-Shabaab, Al-Qaeda, IS, you name all of the problems. We are not happy with that. And we are not happy what's happening in Somalia. But what we have to understand is that we have a problem and a challenge to deal with. And that's what we have been trying to do. Even Somaliland have their contribution to bring that peace back to Somalia by hosting the flood and the refugees from Somalia in my country, giving my money, my penny, my Somaliland shilling, collected from the mother in the streets, selling the potatoes and tomatoes, to help them and host them in a peaceful environment. That's our contribution. And the other international partners, including Ethiopia, sent army, then men and women in uniform, to help them. So that's not problem. But whenever this kind of arrangements and developmental cooperation comes, is it problem? I don't think so. So everyone who thinks about that, this MOU will bring negative impact to the region and the world, I think it's someone who doesn't want any peaceful, collaboration between nations. Sure. And that's what we choose. We choose peaceful negotiations over conflict. Yeah. You know that? So it's not something that, as I said earlier, good for both countries. It's good for the entire region. You know that? We, as Somaliland government, can do something that the rest of the world cannot do. In the Somali context. Ethiopia can do something where the other international partners cannot do because of the geographical location and also the understanding of the context in the region. As a Somalilander, to see that, oh guys, we need you in Somalia to fight against Al-Shabaab, to give your blood, to give your sons, to give everything as an African. Okay? And we don't want any developmental projects in Somaliland. So in that case, it means that let's keep Somalilanders under developed, and also keep Ethiopia landlocked. And that's not what we are ready to see or to hear, that we want to move forward. And the world needs also to move forward together. So this is the time, and this is the right time to do that. And to contribute to the stability and international peace, we need Somaliland to be recognized. We need this MOU to be implemented. We need the United Nations and the other international partners and the governments to understand that it is our time. We have already done our part, and we need your part as well. So to contribute that, come to us, be with this agreement, and recognize Somaliland. That's our motto. That's where we want from the world.
As well know, the sharing resources among neighboring nations is a global experience, including seaports. Why are such initiatives discouraged or even denounced when it comes to Africa and other developing countries?
Okay, let me tell you this thing. And I think for those of you who are not familiar with the African context or Somaliland and the regional context, I have to tell you this. It's not possible, it's impossible to accept that whenever the refugees are crossing the borders, you have to give your natural resources. You have to share with them what you have got. And whenever you want your share, to say no, that's impossible. Let me clarify this. Somaliland hosts, that international refugees. I mean, refugees from over the world. They host refugees from Yemen because of the current crisis. We host refugees from Somalia. We host refugees from other countries with very, very, very little assistance. At least, and we are sharing with our natural resources to give them a land, to give them water, to let them dig their water from our land. To all that, it's humanitarian thing, I understand. And it's humanitarian obligation to our government and our people. And that's why we are very nice to them, and we are, we have been providing the hospitality to them. That's one thing. Okay, what about my people? What about my rights? I need the right that I give and provide to the refugees. I need the right that I provide and I give to the neighboring countries by protecting them. I need the rights that I give and provide and contribute to the international peace and security. With my own things, with my own natural resources, with my own, properties. That's one thing. For Ethiopia, I know, I'm pretty sure that Ethiopians and Ethiopian government knows better than me. But what I believe is that hosting the refugees from all these countries in their country, sharing all that, natural resources with them is something. So also they need theirs. You know that. And, unfortunately, all these refugees, are refugees because of what's going on in Somalia. You see, so let's focus on what's happening in, conflict and war-torn societies and countries like Somalia. Yes, we agree with that, but also we don't want to keep those develop themselves like Somalilanders to keep such kind of status quo and this situation. We are not ready to accept that, and we want, our rights to accept and acknowledged by the world and international community. And that's why we have been continuing our sovereignty and nationhood that we, lost in 1960 for almost 60 years. And the time comes now, and it's our time as well.
Beside port issue, Ethiopia and Somaliland announced that they will have multi-directional development and security cooperation. How will the region benefit from such engagement?
The benefit, they will achieve a lot through this kind of cooperation between the Republic of Somaliland and the Federal Republic of Ethiopia for several reasons. Number one, because of its strategic location of Somaliland as a hub and the gate of Africa to the rest of the world, giving the connection, the connectivity all the way to the Far East Asia, to Middle East, and to a part of other world, to Europe. And as I said, Somaliland connects the Indian Ocean geographically, the Gulf of Aden, and all the way to Red Sea and Bab el Mandeb. So that strategic location gives us the role to play, key role to play. So that's number one, that connectivity. Number two is because of Ethiopia population and Ethiopia's, also location is another factor that we have to have such kind of agreement. And we need also to cooperate peacefully. Everywhere, you can see in Africa, not just if I have to say this, the most conflicts that's going on and happening in the world are now happening in some areas of Africa and some countries in Africa. And that's a conflict. And we say no to any conflict in this region. And we as Somaliland government, the Republic of Somaliland and the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, we want to avoid that by, giving the rights to our people. And I think that, the international community will understand, our international partners understand that. So to help us, grow together and do this, together. So that's very important. Not only that, there are other landlocked countries in Africa. whereby Somaliland could also be a gate for them. So we want to provide and also help Africans to live in better life by utilizing our strategical and geographical location. We want also to help our sisters and brothers in Africa to have peaceful cooperation, developmental projects. That's what we have been working, and that's what we want to do, because Somaliland is the pioneers of peace and stability in the region. And you can say Somaliland is a beacon of peace in a volatile region. We don't want that instability to spread over the borders. We want to keep in places like Somalia and also help them that. And Somaliland can help all that while we are fully recognized, have our word and seats in the international organizations.
There are complaints from the government of Somalia on the current agreement of the two nations. What's your take on this?
Our problem is that we don't usually prioritize, our priority. I think Somalia and its leaders need to prioritize their interests. I mean, by giving a life to those who live under their leadership. I'm talking about the politicians and the other, people and figures who's trying to do a PR or, campaign against this MOU. Your sole responsibility, the main responsibility of yours, guys, is just to protect the people and the vulnerable communities in Somalia, which has been, struggling and suffering, in three different enemies: extremism, poverty, instability, and sometimes natural disasters like flood, drought, and all that. You need, guys, to focus on that. While our leaders, our people, for the past 30 years, focusing on to develop our people, to build our infrastructure, to also improve our lifestyle. That's the two cases and the reality on the ground. So for them, Somali leaders, to think about that, they just want to give false information to the media, to tell the world which some false information. That's how I'm saying. Oh, myth, I can say it's myth, because Somaliland and Somali never have been in one country, and it's more related to background, a legal background. Let me tell you this one. As I said earlier, Somaliland is the parent country of all Somali countries in the region. Number one. Number two, there was never legal unification between Somalia and Somaliland. Three, that unification even never been ratified by any relevant government organizations and relevant institutions by both countries, Republic of Somaliland and Somalia. The third and most important thing is that they are different. This is the misinformation that spread out. They are different. Historically, Somaliland and Somalia is different. Geographically they are different. Socially they are different. Sometimes I believe culturally they are different from each other. So if something keeps together, and if there is any bond that can keep Somaliland and Somalia together, it's religion. And how many countries are Muslims in the world? So as Somalilander, I cannot accept to be a hostage what we call so-called bond. If that's the case, why don't we have all the Arab countries united under one government? Why? So being Somali doesn't mean I'm from Somalia. I said this several times. I can be Somali from Somaliland, the Republic of Somaliland. And I am Somali from the Republic of Somali. You can be Somali from Ethiopia. You can be Somali from Djibouti. You can be Somali from Kenya. And you can be lastly Somali from Somalia. But unfortunately, that word, ethnicity, Somali word, has been politicized by Somalian leaders. And that's one of their problems. And we are not ready, to see the people of Somalia being suffered. They have already suffered a lot. Enough time. Now, their leaders should think about them, not trying, they cannot, but trying to prevent any developmental cooperation between Somalia and its partners. Because every country has its own things to deal with. Our own thing to deal with is our development, the life of our people, and also the recognition. And that's what we have been working for a long time. and for Ethiopia to give access to sea to their people, and Somalia to bring peace to their people. Barkahd, that's the three things we have to focus on, and that's what we call prioritization. If not that's the case, I don't know.
Yeah. Ethiopia asked all East African region countries who use the Red Sea to have an access to the port, but Somaliland is the first respondent. Why?
That's what we call brotherhood. That's what we call brotherhood. Because I need something, and Ethiopia needs something. I have what Ethiopia needs, which is lease agreement. And Ethiopia has what I need. That's what we call scratch my back, I will scratch yours. That's what we are doing. But not only that, we are on this stage by discussing and doing this MOU because of we understand each other, because of the strategic partners that we have been for a long time. You know that. Yeah. And we understand, the way that Ethiopian people are thinking and feeling. And they have also understood what my people are feeling. So that feeling is what, keep us together. To give our people what they need. Because they deserve to be, to have a better life. My people deserve to have a better life. My youngsters have a, right to have the freedom of movement to everywhere in the world, like other citizens in Africa and the rest of the world. They have, the right, and they deserve also to have all the basic services of the governance. Yes, my government for the past 30 years have been providing that. But whatever we have provided to them and still providing is what we achieve from our people, from our own pocket. We were lacking, the international community contribution. And to achieve that, they have to recognize and give us the recognition. And now we want, as I said earlier, we restored our sovereignty. We want to continue that by having our rights in every single regional, continental, and international organizations, including the United Nations. So that's our rights.
What should Ethiopia and Somaliland do to further engage other countries in the region in this development and security integration?
As I said, we together will contribute to maritime security. If you look at the recent statistics in the market and the route of African markets particularly, you can see that this conflicts happening in this area, the maritime insecurity, at this time affects, and everything is going rising up, and that will cause the inflation, that will cause the lives of the people in Africa. That's what we want to prevent. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to come together, not only Ethiopia and Somalia, but with the other international partners, to have a secure maritime, secure land, secure airspace. That's what we are working on. And I hope that this time, international community and our partners and our friends in the international area will understand that. It's surprising that Somalilanders is asking the world, let's make peace to the region and in Africa. And that's what we have done. And we have the experience to do that because we understand the African context better than anyone else. So anyone who's against that is someone who's helping extremism, is someone who's helping the regional and cross-border conflicts, and we don't want that, and we are not ready with that. And I believe we have enough challenges and problems in the region, and we don't want to contribute that. We want to stop that. And to stop that, the world should recognize and help us to have that recognition in Somaliland.
What do you kept Somaliland from getting international recognition as a sovereign state for the last 30 years?
Just injustice. Injustice. That's the only word I can say. Because nothing else. There's nothing other reason than injustice. Somaliland didn't get the full recognition from every country in the world because of injustice. If you look back, Somaliland fulfilled all the statehood and nationhood requirements by the international law, by the United Nations Charter, by every legal document in the world. Even Somaliland deserves to be recognized, fully recognized, comparing to some other countries in the world who got recognition. We fulfilled. We built our own things, institutions, governments, security, and we just not, did that in our scope, but we crossed the borders to help the others to achieve that peace and stability, democratization process, and all that. So why still we are here? Because of injustice. And I think now that injustice has already been, finished, because the world, including Ethiopia, understood that's not the way we want to treat with the Somalilanders. We have to do the other way around. We have to acknowledge what they achieve. And we are proud of that. And now recently we are expecting, looking forward to hear our friends, the friends of democracy, the friends of peace, the friends of stability and peace in the region and the world to accept that. Otherwise, this is common sense. Otherwise, no other country will be happy to do all these things together while they know the result by not acknowledging by the people and by the international community. I don't want that, option. We want to take this option to acknowledge what we did and also contribute to the world further.
News is coming out that countries from the West were willing to push for the recognition of Somaliland even decades ago. And just recently, some UK members of parliament have openly advocated for the UK to join Ethiopia in recognizing Somaliland's sovereignty. What's your reflection on this?
As a government of Somaliland and as the people of Republic of Somaliland, we are very grateful for the parliamentarians and friends of Somaliland in the British government who have been campaigning for our cause, who helped us and spoke on our behalf. That's very generosity from them. That's something that we acknowledge, and we are very grateful for that. Not only them, but also everyone from the ordinary people, the persons, individual level, to the national and international level. Everyone who at least said one word for us is someone who we know, is someone who we are very grateful for what they have done for us. And Somalilanders, culturally, they are, a people who never forget, the friends in need, because we believe that a friend in need is a friend of indeed. And that's for that parliamentary member of parliament of the UK and also the other friends of Somalilanders who have been trying to say, our cause. And the only thing I can answer this question is that because they understood the reality on the ground, they acknowledge our achievement. They want us to be rewarded. And that's the common sense. That's, for the good. I mean, that's something they have been trying to tell the world. And they stood beside us, and that's why we are grateful for them. And we also expect not only them, the rest of the world will join and accept that demand. And now it's the time. We have been, seeing and looking the light at the end of the tunnel, and we crossed that tunnel, and now in the mid of the light, and we want to see that the world, acknowledges what we have done for the cause of our rights, for the cause of our people, for the cause of our regional and the other wider, human being in the world.
What's your stand of the Somaliland's government to efforts some countries from near and far are making to abort this agreement the Somaliland has signed with Ethiopia? If you take Egypt officially opposed the Memorandum of Understanding, what's your take on this?
The position of the government of Somaliland is the position of every country and every government in the world who is trying, and those are trying to, defend the rights of their own people. That's number one. Number two, in a peaceful manner, we have been trying and still trying to tell the world that this is our right. And if there is any friend of democracy, any friend of justice, any friend of peace and stability, any friend of, statehood, I think they will accept and already accepted what we achieved. I have to say several times this, because this is the basic foundation of our cause, Somaliland rights. And every country or every person from the individual to national level who's against this MOU, I think they don't have, justifiable reasons to go against this MOU and other developmental projects that Somaliland is having with, our own friends. Friends and international partners. So the only thing I want to repeat is that every country has its own priorities and projects to deal with. Somaliland priority is to keep and maintain the peace, to sustain the peace that we have already built 30 years ago. Our priority is to achieve that full recognition. Our priority is to keep the region stable. Our priority is to develop the lifestyle of our people. And that's what we all ask, nothing else. And for those in Africa, for those over the world who have their own problems, we just want to tell them that please deal with your own problems. And if you need us, we can contribute to that. As Somaliland is having the experience of bottom-up approach of peace building and state building. And that's what's Africa lacking now. Africa doesn't, not only if Africa, all of Africa, but some of countries in Africa, doesn't have that kind of, structures, mindset and mentality. And Somaliland have enough, and we have already contributed to some African countries to build that, indigenous peace building approach that we adopted in our country. So what if we achieved all this by ourselves? What could we contribute to the world when we got the full recognition from the world? That's what we are asking. That's what we want to do that. And there's no two options. There's no alternative option other than to recognize Somaliland. Any other alternative option will not lead us in a good way. So everyone who is against this MOU, I think we have to understand we are talking about lives. We are talking about rights. We are talking about democracy.
Finally, I conclude my question. If you want to add some, you're welcome.
The Somalilanders have said enough to explain and describe our cause and our position. And we are very, happy to see the world now is recognizing and listening that demand, including the government of Ethiopia. And the only thing I just want to say is that the international community cannot deal with two problems. Now we are dealing with maritime insecurity. The world's dealing with, some of blockages in international trade routes and all that. Somaliland is here to help and contribute to that. So what this MOU is one of our contributions to the maritime security. It's one of our contributions to international stability. It's one of our contributions to give the rights to our own people and also to tackle, the injustice that has been existing for a long time. And I think my brothers and sisters in African Union, IGAD, EAC, ECOWAS, and every other regional blocks, both economical and political blocks, will understand what we have been saying for a long time, and it's the time for them to understand. And I hope they understood already. And later on, the United Nations and the other international partners, and this we want. If the region, continue like this way, it will not be good for anyone. That's what Somalilanders is paying. Somalilanders are paying their own procurement, their own collected revenue, their own natural resources to say no, we want peace. And they achieved. And now they're asking the world, to give the recognition, also to expand beyond the borders. All this stability and democracy that we have practiced for almost 30 years.
Thank you so much for your vivid explanation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. And I really appreciate your time and the energy to come to here and also understand and tell the world what Somaliland reality on the ground is.
Dear viewers, I think you have got some elaboration on the current issue of both countries. Till next edition, have a wonderful time.